Mr. Adam Lane Smith, welcome to the Development by David podcast. How are you, my friend?
Thank you. I am great, and I'm happy to be talking to you. I love your accent.
I can't believe you said that your daughters love Brave, and I almost remind you of the characters from that show.
That was the first thing that hit me. Was I am so glad my daughters watch Brave over and over and over, because your accent it doesn't even bother me. I've been hearing it almost more than an American accent over here now.
Oh, I love it. As you know, this podcast serves to follow an individual through their Genesis story, essentially picking up on lessons, traumas, wins, and losses throughout their personal road, and inspiring that into some sort of personal development lesson to take away in plain English or plain Scots. That being said, an observation that I've made is that a lot of what happens early on in the individual's life shapes their reactions and therefore outcomes later on in life. And this seems to kind of encompass a lot of the work that you do. So for the listeners who don't know who you are, who is Adam Lane Smith in 2022?
In 2022 is a good distinction. So I am currently and now an attachment specialist, which is a job I have invented because it has to be invented. Prior to this, I was a licensed marriage and family therapist for years. That's a 6-year process to get your master's degree, a 3-year apprenticeship period. I apprenticed under 6 clinicians with 4 different licensure types. I worked for years as a therapist. I did treatment for death penalty inmates in for multiple murders, gang members, gang killings, people who'd mutilated their own children, people who try to murder their own spouse. The guards would lock me in a room with 16 inmates and walk away, and I'd have to teach them for an hour, and then the guards would come back and unlock the door and see if I was okay. And through that, I learned to teach people. I learned to talk with those people. And I found out that they were just people. They had made serious mistakes. Almost all of them had a really tough Genesis story, childhood, like you talked about. And from there, I went and moved across to a different state here in the U.S. I did in-home treatment for people who were disabled due to severe mental illness. I'd walk into their house and have to help them from step 0, get off the couch, get their pants on, get their shoes on, and figure out how to rebuild their life after they'd been, some of them, shut in for years. And all of them, almost all of them, bad Genesis stories. Same thing, those childhood events. From there, I got what I considered a plush office, where with no bars on the windows, no armed guards, no one trying to kill you or stab you, or no one bleeding on the floor as the guards drag them in and shackle them to a ring in the floor. And then you ask them, how are you doing today? And you just got to start therapy that way. It was plush. I worked with millionaire entrepreneurs. I worked with trust fund families. I also worked with people who were homeless, people with every addiction you can think of, first responders, military families. And the number one thing I pulled out was that childhood, your ability to give and receive love to other human beings, and your ability to believe that you deserve to be loved and will be treated with love by anybody, that was crucial to the formation of who you are as a person. And if that gets twisted, everything else gets twisted too. It doesn't matter how much money you have, it all gets twisted. So then I became an attachment specialist, because that is called attachment. The way you give and receive love, the way you attach to other people, it's called attachment. Now I retired. I got so many people pushing me for international coaching. I retired my license because here in the United States, there's 50 states. If you get licensed in one, you are only licensed in one state. You cannot coach. You can't practice outside of that state. You can't practice outside of the country. International coaching, you got to go wide. So I've invented my own role. I'm looking down the line. Maybe I'll even build a certification program. Maybe I'm just the first attachment specialist and not the only one. But so far as I know, I'm the only one in the world.
That is super exciting, mate. I've heard you insinuate or outlay that attachment almost underpins most, if not all, mental health conditions. Would you agree with me on that?
I would say yes. I would say it's the root cause of most of them. And the ones that are not the root cause of, they are at least made worse by it. And I look at studies out of, I believe it was Finland. They took people with schizophrenia, and they took them and their families into a treatment setting. They did intense family therapy, relationship therapy, training with them, helping the families understand what was going on, what the symptoms would be like. helping them to de-escalate situations so the stress was lower, intense family healing. Basically, in a lot of ways, attachment work. And what they found was with zero medication and zero anything else, it was this intense family structure. They found that those people could go out and, on average, not be hospitalized ever again for their mental health problems. Their frequencies of schizophrenia episodes diminished, the severity diminished, everything became better with zero medication. And here in the United States, we assume the only thing you can do when someone has schizophrenia is give them medication and put them in a room somewhere, and that's it. That's their whole life. They're going to sit there on disability, on medication for the rest of their life, and that's it. With no medication, and when intense attachment trainings and health and healing that family attachment, a person with schizophrenia could function for the rest of their life with no medication and with decreased symptoms. That's what that research showed. So absolutely, attachment either causes or exacerbates all these issues. That's my belief.
And if that's not a sales pitch for the need and necessity for your role and your job in society, I don't know what is, Adam. So what is attachment and what are different attachment styles?
Absolutely. Attachment is, like I said, it's the way you give and receive love from other people. It gets broken when you get the message as a small child that you don't deserve love. If your parents don't spend time with you because they're depressed and they're too depressed to spend time with you, the child's brain says there's something wrong with me that is making them not do this. Because if I was a good kid, they would overcome whatever is wrong and they would spend time with me. Child's brain is not logical. It doesn't say, oh, dad has drinking issues, that's why he acts this way. It's, I am a bad kid. Dad would treat me better if I was better. It must be something wrong with me. The belief is deep down on the inside. There's something wrong with you that everybody else can see, but you can't. And your parents see it, and that's why they treat you the way they treat you, or your siblings, or whoever hurt you, or whoever neglected you. It's your fault. And you can't see what it is, so you can never open up and show people who you are on the inside. You have to create a wall that protects people from seeing who you are. And then you'll never get hurt again, and you'll never get abandoned again. You just have to have perfect cardboard cutout of yourself in front of yourself. The different attachment styles spring from this. So you've got, here in the United States, the research shows 50% of Americans have healthy attachment, 50% of Americans have unhealthy attachment. And that research was done a while ago, so I would bet money it's worse now. But the unhealthy styles are anxious style. So anxious comes in of running damage control in advance, worrying that people don't really like you, worrying that you've said something wrong, even if everybody seems happy, worrying that the people who say they love you are really pity you and they don't really want you around, worrying that if you ask for something, they will think you're a burden and will abandon you, worrying about abandonment. Avoidance is worrying about abandonment and believing it's impossible to even receive love. So you keep everyone out at arm's length and never let anyone in. You don't establish those deeper relationships. You push everyone away to protect yourself. And then there's a 5%, it's just 20% avoidant, 20% anxious, 25% avoidant, and about 5% anxious avoidant, which is I'm going to keep everyone out here, but when one person gets close, I switch and I become hyper aware and hyper vigilant of that relationship, and I assume it's going to end badly and I'm going to screw it up. So someone with attachment issues, they go into those relationships, they can never share who they really are. They are always worrying, always trying to be perfect, but knowing they can never be perfect. So their relationships become like a video game. It becomes pushing buttons from behind your cardboard cutout, pushing buttons to make other people not hurt you by giving them what they want and hoping that they'll be so grateful they'll do things that you want without you having to ask and expose your needs to them and thereby get rejected. It's this constant flood of anxiety. When you have that in childhood, your brain just becomes chronically hyper anxious. It's an agitation on the right side of the brain. It diminishes the logical brain for hyper agitation on the right side brain. So it's chronic short-term thinking, chronic agitation, chronic trying to relieve that fear, relieve that stress, that pain. This is where a lot of drug addictions come from, gambling addictions, video game addictions, porn addiction. A lot of those things come from this severe chronic agitation of that brain and trying to diminish it and return it so that logical functioning will come back. It creates a lower threshold for post-traumatic stress disorder because a trauma happens and your brain says, what happened and how do I make sure it never happens again? And the brain says, no one is ever going to help me. I am alone, so the only thing I can do is worry more. And when you realize at a certain point, usually early teens, mid-teens, But there's nothing you can do to worry more, and it's not going to help. Depression sets in. We see their crash into teenage depression. Then, if it's really severe, there were really bad traumas, we see a rise into panic attacks by the end of the teens, maybe. We might see a rise into bipolar disorder. We might see a rise as the brain tries to hold everything together and live with this chronic anxiety and stress and pain. It starts to crack and it starts to create ways to relieve that stress. I believe that's bipolar disorder with manic episodes of turn off the prefrontal cortex of judgment and just blow off steam and have fun and relax. Otherwise, you're going to die. You're going to have a seizure. Some people, you're going to do that. So, bipolar manic episodes, you have schizophrenia pieces that I believe are caused by your brain trying to distract itself from the chronic ongoing pain that you're experiencing and the terror and fear of, hey, look at that over there. Hey, let's think about that instead. It's the brain trying to heal these cracks. And that is where attachment goes in everything. It goes into your relationships, your work life, your religion life, everything. Everything is touched by it. It's the foundation of everything, and it makes everything better or everything worse.
As you beautifully laid that monologue, I was dissecting my own behaviors almost, and I think I'm more the anxious type, where
Mm,
I am anxious about a date that might or might not occur in the future, whether that's a breakup or a circumstance at home, and therefore I'm not present in the moment. And not only does
yes,
that fragment relationships because you're not focusing on the individual experience that you're currently experiencing, it
bingo.
actually prohibits the act of restoring and retaining memories. I realize a lot of my childhood I can't remember. And I think it's because I
Yes.
was not present during it because I was anxious about a future date.
You you probably have those memories, but they are probably tagged with such intense biological markers for stress that you will only remember them during times of intense stress that matches them. And then your brain will open the really stressed out file of whatever the relationship was attached, and you'll have memories of that event and say, "Oh crap, I remember this when I was 4. My dad yelled at me, and here he is yelling at me again." That's when you'll probably remember it. Or when you completely calm the brain to absolute zero, your brain can start processing some of those memories and detach some of those emotional tags from them. But yeah, they're there. It's just they're filed wrong, man. They're filed really bad. It happens a lot.
For the video only listeners, they might see me blushing because Adam, you've hit the nail on the head. I have all those symptoms completely. And I also
I hear
loved how
you.
you outlaid almost like the attachment life cycle of what might occur throughout the different ranges.
Hmm.
And as we spoke offline, I'm a huge advocate for social mobility here in the UK, and I believe a great deal of the drivers of social immobility in the UK aren't driven by government policies, aren't driven by education, aren't driven by employment. Social immobility, in fact, it stems from like the psychological laceration that occurs because of a childhood um, and a child's relationship with themselves and their family. I want to unpick some of the inner beliefs that I've noticed about myself from my childhood, and for you to understand or give advice on whether they're true or false, and give your kind of advice behind them. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. That's every time I go on a podcast or talk to somebody, they do this. And I keep joking, I'm going to have a cigar off camera so I can pull it in and say, "Tell me about your mother." I always tell people. So I'm going to have to just go ahead and do that and buy one. Go ahead. Let's do it. Let's have fun.
Okay, so I was told as a child, or I believed as a child, asking for more is a negative action. I used to ask for pocket money or for toys that we couldn't afford. This manifested in a gratitude complex at work, and now I don't ask for promotions, pay rises, and new opportunities as a result.
Yeah, there's man, I've got 4 kids, and my kids are always asking me for everything. They'll ask me for a pony, they'll ask me for a dragon, they'll ask me for a castle, they'll ask me for a lightsaber, they'll ask me for just about everything. And it's my job as a father to be able to say, okay, here are some sane boundaries that are common sense. Here's where we're at. Here's why we're doing that, and explain why it's happening. And make them understand that I'm not saying no because they don't deserve it. I'm saying no because it doesn't exist, or because they don't need it, or because we have limitations. It's my job to give them that. As a parent, it's our job to shape our child's brain. It's not just our job to keep them alive till they're 18. So, what you're describing is a pattern wherein your brain probably has, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, has gained an understanding that you don't deserve more, and that everybody's resources are limited, and they are going to deprioritize you, even your own family. Everybody will deprioritize you, and it is your problem alone to solve your own problems with the limited amount of resources that people begrudgingly give you in the first place, including at work. Is that fair?
I'm speechless, Adam. Of course, it's bang on the money. Oh my god. Okay, let's
So
move on to the second one.
think about this real quick, because
Okay.
when you take that into your work environment, that's the opposite of what you need to do in your work environment. They're going to allocate resources to you to get a job done because you are going to be helping them get more resources then in return.
Precisely. Absolutely
Do you
precisely.
want, do you want me to break you of that habit right now in about 4 minutes?
I would love that.
Okay, let's do this. Go ahead and close your eyes. I'll embarrass you in front of the audience.
Okay.
Go ahead and close your eyes. I want you to imagine you have, let's say you have the best partner in the world. Let's say you have the best partner in the world. Let's go romantic relationship. You have the best partner in the world. When they want something from you, they ask very clearly for it. And they just say, hey, this would mean a lot to me. Could you please do this for me? And it's reasonable stuff. They don't stomp their foot. They don't demand. It's, hey, could you pick up this for me? Or could you cook dinner for me tonight? I'm so tired. Could you help me with this? Could you help me with, it's little things, but they ask. They ask. So you always know what they need from you. They're very clear. When you do something they don't like, they tell you very calmly. On the first time, they say, hey, oh, I don't really like that, but this would be great. Could you please do this for me instead? They suggest the replacement behavior that would be great. And they do it the first time. So you haven't done it 10 times. You're not embarrassed. They're not mad. It's just very calm. Hey, no, not like that. Do this. This would be great. Okay, cool. And you do it. And when you do something they like, they say, great, thank you. They are just honestly grateful. When you do a nice gesture for them, they say, wow, this was so cool. Thank you so much. They're just genuinely happy to have received that kindness. They might even tell you why it meant something. Hey, this is so great. Let me tell you why this is even better than you thought it was. And they tell you, and they just stop and enjoy what you've done for them. So you always know what they want. You always know if you're messing up, and you know how to fix it because they'll help you fix it. And you always know when you're doing right because they're just genuinely happy. Now open your eyes and tell me 3 questions. Answer me 3 questions. Does that person trust you?
Indeed.
Good. That's a good answer. Sometimes the worst people with the worst childhoods tell me, no, there's something wrong there. They're setting me up for something. But good. Yes, that person trusts you. Number 2, if you had that level of feedback where you knew what you were doing right, you knew what you were doing wrong, and they were helping you to turn the wrong into right all the time, and you could see them being visibly happy, would you feel pretty confident about yourself as a partner?
Yeah, my validation would go through the roof.
Right. Would you feel in this relationship pretty secure, like it was going to last a long time?
I would be at least tricked into believing so.
Fair answer. Fair answer. Yes, you're right. You're right on all counts. And I want to show you why you're right, because let's go back and do the opposite. So close your eyes again. Let's imagine you have the worst partner in the world. This person does not ask for what they want. They don't ask, they make you guess. You have to wonder. You have to try to figure it out. You are always trying to figure out. And if you guess it, they will say no. They will brush it aside. They'll say it's no big deal. They'll make a joke about it, but laugh it off. You never really know. So you have to try to guess and figure it out, and then try to do it and hope it's the right thing. And if you do something wrong, you do the wrong thing, they don't tell you right away. They're nice about it. They say, no, that was great. No, thanks. That was fine. No, it's okay. No, it's not a big deal. And they tell you that over and over and over and over, and you believe it for about 6 months until they have a bad day. And they blow up on you and tell you all the things you've been secretly doing wrong. And they attribute malice to you, that you've been doing this out of unkindness, out of hurt, out of hatred, that you just don't care about them as much as they care about you. You never know when that landmine is coming, but it's coming, and you have to keep guessing what they want and trying to get it right. And if you do what they want, they don't just sit and be thankful. They treat it like a burden. They immediately start trying to pay you back. They immediately start demanding, why did you do this? You didn't have to do this for me. You didn't know this is too much. Please take this back. Every time you do something nice, you're punished for it. You do it wrong, you're punished for it eventually. And it's a constant guessing game. Now go ahead and open your eyes and answer me 3 questions. Does that person trust you?
No,
Good answer. Would you feel like a good partner in this circumstance?
not at all.
If you didn't have an attachment problem going in, you'd develop one halfway through, right?
Yeah,
Yes. Would you feel like that relationship was secure and would last a long time?
no, definitely not.
Absolutely not. What we've done here is a couple things. Number one, the bad news is that you have been the bad partner. So have all of us with bad attachment. You have been the person making others guess, playing that game, being nice, maybe once in a while blowing up if you have a bad day, or laying on the guilt sometimes when it gets to be too much, pushing get back gifts, denying other people the ability to feel trusted, to feel loved, to feel secure, to feel validated, to feel good self esteem and good about themselves. Your needs are actually gifts for the other person. Your needs are gifts for the other person, giving them the chance to give you something that they can watch you be happy for, give you something and receive your genuine gratitude instead of trying to pay it back like a debt. It's gifts for them because they can feel good and confident about themselves, validated. They can feel powerful. They can feel great, and they never have to guess or wonder. Their anxiety plummets through the floor based on you just being honest. And that's all that was here. That is the only thing we have talked about is just being honest about what you want and what you don't want. That's all this whole thing hinged on. And you can see how that determines the quality of a relationship. Nothing else would. You could have the most like hot, stunning partner in the world, but if they act like the bad partner, it ruins everything. Right?
I've totally taken two stickers and slapped them on two different people in past experiences that I've been through, and I'm sure the listeners are doing the exact same. And
Mm-hmm.
until someone gives you the framework like that, you probably can't dissect those thoughts and those actions and therefore behaviors, right?
No, because you are agitated. And your agitated brain on the right side is thinking 5 seconds in the future of maximize pain, minimize pleasure for the next 5 seconds. What we've done is force these ideas through experience for you to logically process them from an external view and then map that onto yourself and say, I've had all these realizations about how these behaviors come across. Oh crap, I'm doing those behaviors and I felt those behaviors from others. Now you can logically on your left brain process those, and that is where those changes take place and finalize and become behavior changes. Because now you understand for the rest of your life, when you think about covering it up and saying, "No, I don't need any more of that. I don't need help," you're going to see my face and you're going to remember my voice and you're going to say, oh crap, I just did that thing Adam told me about and he made me feel so bad about not doing this and not telling people. I better go tell that person right now. I will ruin the rest of your life for you. You've already taken a first dark step down the path of attachment. You're going to have to heal it because now it's ruined for life. So that should change a lot for you. That should change a lot for you. When I do that with people, when I realize that for myself, my needs are gifts to other people to help them feel safe, secure, trusted. That's a game changer.
So
That's a game
empowering.
changer.
So empowering,
It
mate. I
is.
hope the listeners loved that section. Let me do one more inner belief that I might have, and I'd love you to dispel it. So,
Sure.
I observed through speaking with people from my background that not having dinner with parents because of the family dynamic prevents the performative notion of kids. The dinner table is a stage where the kid shares their worldview. Negating them of this will prevent them from being a performer in the workplace and ultimately hinder their visibility as an employee.
I like that. I like that because the dinner table, what is the dinner table? What has it always been? It has always been the place where everybody stops. They stop what they're doing. They come and sit. They share a meal. Your hands are busy. Your mouth is busy. All you can really do is look at each other and listen to each other. It's hard to do much else at the dinner table when you're all together. So you look and you listen and you talk and you ask questions. The dinner table has always been a place to gather and to connect. Like food and eating and dinner is one of the biggest human experiences. The family that doesn't eat dinner together probably doesn't do the other good things together either, because dinner is a big indicator of the health of the attachment and how serious the parents are about cultivating good attachment with those kids. So it's the attachment piece, it's not knowing how to talk, it's not knowing how to ask questions, it's not knowing how to have deep conversation, it's not knowing how to conversate in an intimate way with people that you love. It's not knowing how to just communicate with other human beings in a way that matters. Dinner conversation is some of the most intimate conversation on earth that most people will experience in a group setting. And if you don't have that experience, communication goes down very hard.
And I think the notion to be extroverted, I don't want to say to be extroverted, but the notion to be extroverted is dampened because I've learned from the dinner table to go into the workplace and project my voice. And sometimes success is not about outcomes, it's about optics. And if you're reluctant to perform, then you won't get the visibility that you deserve. And visibility,
Right.
in my instance, I would say equates to success. And there's a
Very
really
much.
poignant point that you said about communication that I quite like, and that leads me on to your tweet storms. Because there's a tweet that I want to mention on this. And I think it's probably perhaps your most viral tweet that I've seen, and it was something along the lines of, "My wife and I never baby talk to our kids. We use full sentences and a wide vocabulary, including complex words. My son at the time was 3 and can carry a full conversation. Adults at family gatherings are shocked by his aptitude." So why is baby talking to your children bad? And how does speaking to them in plain English, how does that increase their aptitude?
Good question. So I'll make a distinction here. Baby talk to a 3-month old is very different from baby talk to a 1-year old. Baby talking when they're 3, goo goo gaga, you mimic their noises back to them, which tells them you're hearing them and they're getting the noises right, so keep going. Baby talking to a 1-year old, baby talking to a 3-year old, a lot of people dumb things down. They talk stupid to their kids. They don't communicate with their kids. They use the wrong words. You're stimulating their brain. You're cultivating the language center of their brain. I'm glad you're talking to them at all, because some parents don't talk to their kids at all. But I talk to my kids just in a normal way. And when there's a word they don't know, they ask me, what does that mean? And I teach them. It's a teaching moment. It's the difference between saying I'm going to engage with you on this low level because that's all I can give you, or I'm going to engage with you up here on this level and train you up to that level. I don't go in talking academic to my kids, but I go in, I'll use bigger words, bigger and bigger as they've grown. And my son is 5, and he is incredibly gifted with conversation. He's able to carry, now he's 5, he carry full conversations with people. I'll be at church and I'll look over and he's conversing with the people next to us, having a full, thoughtful conversation, asking them questions, talking with them, not just the normal, I like your shoes, like little boys do, but talking to them about in-depth topics that are religious and right there with them. Um, it is amazing when you teach your kids up. It's amazing what they're capable of. And that's really what I wanted that tweet to hit for people is don't be afraid to go up with your kids. You don't have to go down to a low level. Bring them up, train them, cultivate them. It's just like people who don't give their kids the ability to choose things. They do everything for their kids and the kids get no choice. What you're doing is you're not cultivating the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making process of the brain, the cause and effect, the consequence part of the brain. You're not cultivating that. So you're delaying that cultivation. You're delaying the growth. You are stunting their mental growth in some ways by not cultivating them. That's really what I meant, and what I wanted to pull out with that tweet is, man, kids are smart. They're smarter than we give them credit for. See how smart your kids are and give them a shot, because you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed how they'll come up to your level pretty quick.
I absolutely love that. It's almost, instead of adding value to their life by giving them things and doing things for them and making decisions for them, instead of adding value to their life, create value within them by uplifting them and empowering them to go off and make those decisions and create their own
Yes.
actions.
Yes. Well, what is childhood? It's an apprenticeship to be an adult. That's what childhood is. We've turned it into this magical experience that you're supposed to fart rainbows and ride unicorns for 18 years, but it's just not that. It's an apprenticeship to be an adult, because they're going to be an adult for the majority of their life, and they have to be adults that you're going to have to interact with, that others will have to interact with. They'll take on your legacy. They're going to do all kinds of things. You are apprenticing them to you to become an adult. Treat it that way. Teach them. If somebody came to you and said, "Hey, David, teach me how to be a podcaster," you wouldn't have them stand there and hold your coffee for the first 2 years. You would have them get rolling, maybe shadow you on some of these, maybe get involved. Then you'd hit questions to them and you'd play tennis back and forth verbally with them. You would get them rolling and try to get them up to your level as much as they could, and then train them as you went. Same with kids. They are apprentice adults. Treat them that way, and they love it. If you do that, you don't get that resentment because you're not holding them back. You're training them. They're getting agency. They're not slaves. They are getting agency, controlling their world and expanding their ability to impact the world as their brain expands and as their brain improves. Do that. Apprentice adults.
Apprentice adults. Beautifully put. Next tweet. Most of the relationship skills you learned from your parents are not relationship skills at all. They're leftover trauma behaviors from several messed up generations. So what skills are inferred here that are mislabeled as skills? And what traumas are perpetuated further into existence as a result?
Relationship skills. Let's go back to not asking for your needs to get met. Let's talk about doing 5 nice things for someone else so they'll be so grateful that they'll do something nice for you, and they'll read your mind and figure out what they're supposed to do for you. Let's talk about relationship skills like dating. When are you supposed to have serious talks? When are you supposed to talk about your life goals? When are you supposed to talk about marriage? Is it on the first date? No, you should probably wait to 3 years into the relationship and then talk about what you want to do for life goals. Let's wait till then. It is manipulation tactics of trying to work on other people and move them like objects by causing hurt or by offering pleasure to try to get them to act instead of communicating straight to them and persuading them ethically and saying, "Here's what's going on. Here's what I really want from you. How can we make that happen together?" It's skills like that that impact other people and treat them. It's really either treating people like people or treating people like objects to be moved is really what it's down to. That's really what it's down to. And a lot of those relationship skills we learned are defensive ones. It's people who learned, like you and I did in our childhood, don't ask for things. People don't want to give you things. People don't care, so don't ask. It's our parents and our grandparents and our grandparents' grandparents learning that and then teaching that to us and saying, don't ask things from people. They don't like it. Nobody wants to help you out. Nobody has extra for you. Don't even ask. Don't even bother. Those relationship skills right there. Those are not skills. Those are
And
traumas.
I know in a similar vein on this topic, one of the phrases that you promote people to avoid is "do as I say, not as I do." I know that you absolutely hate that.
Yeah, 100%. It's kids learn from watching. They learn from context and learn from watching. If you tell them, "do as I say," then they have to try to figure that out completely on their own from scratch, just based on a sentence you have said without ever observing it. That is impossible for almost every child. If you really think about it, then you tell them, "Hey, don't go out and do that." But they never will ever see an example of that. And at home, all they see is the opposite. They will do the opposite because it's all that they know how to do. It's all that their brain has absorbed data on. Hey, here's what I can do. Here is my only option. And then they will do what you do instead of doing what you say. That's just how that game gets played. It is useless and it makes them not trust you because now you're a liar who says that's the best way, but I'm doing this, so this is really the best way.
If you didn't have the audience script already, you do now. That was amazing. Next one, Adam. You're not unlovable. You just don't believe you deserve love and commitment, and you pick men who treat you the way you expect to be treated.
Absolutely. That is the bias of attachment. Because if you believe something is fundamentally wrong with you deep down on the inside, men and women, you will keep out healthy people because your behaviors, they will see it and they'll see you not sharing needs and hiding things and covering them up and they'll back away. So you're selecting out healthy people and you're scared of them anyway because they're intimidating because they try to get too close and see inside of who you are and you chase them off and you don't know how to react to them. So you're terrified of them anyway. So you will select unhealthy people who have problems so that you can solve their problems for them, and the worst problems and the more chronic the better, because then they're going to have them forever and you can be the good one by taking care of them forever. So if you're a guy, you're going to find the girl who has just horrendous relationship behaviors and say, oh, I can save her, and you will try to save her. You will try to save her. In the United States, we call that Captain Save-A-Ho, of trying to save her, big dude with a cape. And women do this too. Women try to save men. They try to rescue them. They try to almost be their mommy and say he will be so grateful he won't realize I'm an unlovable piece of garbage, and he will pity me enough to have sex with me and stay with me for the rest of my life, and I will just give him whatever I can to try to keep him for as long as possible. And that process over 30 years makes them believe there are no healthy people in this world. It really is my fault. I deserve everything that's happened to me. And this is just how life is. And they missed all the healthy people that would have loved them if they had opened up to them, because they were too terrified to be able to do that. So it creates a self perpetuating bias that says, my parents were right. I don't deserve to be loved. And this is all there is.
I found the anecdote where you said that these unhealthy women try to take on the archetype of a mother figure or a mommy. And I've also heard you say that insecure men spend so much time trying to please their wife that they, in the same way that they please their own mother, that they
Mm-hmm.
force their unhealthy relationship into a mothership role or a motherly role.
Yes. Especially once they have kids. Then they make a joke. I just tweeted the other day and it went viral. One of the worst things that I can ever hear a wife say that tells me the marriage is dead is when she says something like, I have 2 kids, or 3 if you count my husband. Because there's a difference between joking that your husband can be childish sometimes and putting your husband on a list of dependents who are so immature and helpless that they now rely on you for survival. Those are 2 completely different statements. And putting it in that way and saying, I am responsible for the stability in this family, for taking care of things, and for controlling my husband's behavior. I am responsible for the leadership in this family because I can't trust him because he acts like a child. That is a fast track to divorce right there. That is a very fast track to divorce.
Would the root cause of that be? Would that be the assumption that men get validation from their mums if they behave, or they're a good boy for mum, and therefore they
Good
try
boy
and
points.
mimic that with their wife, and the results or outcomes don't match because they're just very different kind of relationships, a mother role and
Tremendously.
a wife role.
Tremendously. And those guys usually can't ask their wife for sex, so they usually have a lot of sexual frustration. They do nice things, nice boy points. They earn nice boy points to try to win sex because their wife is going to be so turned on that he vacuumed the living room and did the dishes that she will just rip off her clothes and leap on him like a jungle predator. And when that doesn't happen, he gets frustrated and angry. And then over time, over 5, 10 years, she starts dreading the sound of dishes being done because she knows she's going to have to do something and she won't get it right. So he's going to get mad and it's going to cause a fight. So now him doing those things instead makes her angry. So it doesn't earn good boy points. It earns bad boy points for the things that used to kind of almost work. So they can't ask for sex. They usually have porn addictions. A lot of them have an affair. A lot of them go to strip clubs. They do all kinds of stuff to get their sexual needs met, and they blame their wife for a lot of it because if she really loved me, she would read my mind and reward my good boy points. And the wife is sitting there going, what is wrong with this crazy guy? And a lot of the wives have attachment issues themselves. So their sex drive is chronically low anyway, because female sex drive is determined by attachment in long-term relationships. It's an ugly circle, and it really gets worse and explodes when people have kids, and the mom instinctively tries to give the kids better attachment. The dad has no idea what she's doing, and now she starts blaming him for the kids having bad attachment, and he's been the same as he's ever been, but all of a sudden he's the enemy, tears the family apart. This is the majority of divorces. Just detonates. This is the cycle, unfortunately.
I read somewhere, it was a study on affairs and cheating, and the rationale behind the modern day man cheating was that they wanted novelty. They didn't want better, they wanted different. But when women cheat, it's because they want emotional security and those emotional needs fulfilled. Would you agree with that?
Men cheating for novelty. I would say that probably is the reason that is stated. I wanted something different. And there's elements, there's elements to the male sex drive of, hey, look at those two rocks. Hey, now I'm turned on. Who can I have sex with? Well, look, there's a girl over there behind that bush. There's elements to that. The male sex drive is turn on and then try to relieve it. The female sex drive typically, depending on the time of the month, most times, is directed at a person due to stability and due to emotional intimacy. So that makes sense. The female sex drive with an affair usually happens when she has an attachment issue, doesn't know how to get her needs met. He also usually has an attachment issue, not always, but they're just completely divided. The relationship is resentful, it's nasty, it's hurtful. Usually that's where those affairs happen. Is usually in those cases. There are women who are more extreme and who do it to even really good guys, but that usually is where I see those female affairs tend to happen, is one or both has an attachment issue and she's looking for something to relieve the pain. She's looking for someone she can connect with and feel like she can be something with instead
And
of being kept out.
and I seen a tweet that really captures that and summarizes that really well by yourself, and it was the female sex drive runs on intimacy. Intimacy depends upon emotional security and attachment strength. Both of these are dependent upon both partners working as a partnership. Even the slightest issue can derail the female sex drive. It's a great litmus test for a relationship.
100%. Absolutely 100%. It's driven, it goes into overdrive at the beginning because they're trying to generate a connection and intimacy and get him connected to her for a long time. And then at 1 year, at 2 years, it switches over to long-term preservation of, is this man going to stay with me for a long term? If I got pregnant today, could I probably have somebody help me and take care of this and provide? It goes back to 200,000 years of human evolution. It is based then on stability and safety of, if I got pregnant, what would happen? And if the brain says, we are intimate, we are connected, he loves me, he respects me for my mind and my insight and my advice and my helpfulness, as I lose fertility and attractiveness with youth, as I gain age, as I gain wisdom with age, knowledge, experience, I will become more valuable to him, so he won't leave me for the next 19-year-old blonde who walks by. As that happens, and as she trusts him to be stable, safe, calm, disciplined, loving to the children, the female brain, amps up the sex drive through the roof because it says we should have 40 babies because this is a perfect circumstance. And when all the opposite is true, when he's unstable, he seems like a child, she can't rely on him, he doesn't stand up to people, so he won't protect her or the kids, he doesn't connect to people, so he'll emotionally harm the children by being distant, by not connecting. He's not connected to her and asking her for help, so she's not useful. So the only thing keeping them together then in her eyes is his feelings and how she makes him feel. And she can't compete as she grows older, but with the 18-year-olds and the 19-year-old blondes who walk by, so she's afraid of losing him. She'll be paranoid. All of that tanks that sex drive, and it drives it through the floor. And if she has attachment issues, it couples in with, eventually he'll realize I'm an unlovable piece of garbage and he's right for not connecting to me. So I will eventually lose him. So all of that even drives the sex drive down through the floor. That really is the biggest piece. Female Viagra is emotional intimacy and good attachment on both sides. That's the pill everybody wants.
Wow, Adam. What an incredible insight. That might be just my trailer clip. That's just insane insight.
Well, good.
I love that, mate. Next week,
Good.
love is not a feeling. Love is taking consistent action that's truly best for someone, especially when it's against your self-interest. The more it costs, the greater your love. And I love this. This is one of my favorite tweets by you because I've always said that love is a verb, not a noun. It's probably, I'm assuming, why the 5 love languages or however many love languages exist. And I always try and tell myself in relationships, was I shown love or was I just told I was love? So I would always say that love is a verb instead of a noun.
Absolutely. No, you are 100% correct. And people will argue with that, say, no, it's a feeling. Well, yes, you can feel love. But does the other person feel that love? Does the other person perceive that love? If you don't act in their best interest, Do you really love them? It is both. How do I want to say this? It is justified. Love is justified when it is used as a verb. If it is not used as a verb, it also does not exist as a noun. It must be both. You must love and give love and act with love. You must feel it and act with it at the same time. If you are not acting with it, it does not exist. This was the Bible say, faith without works is dead. Love without love is dead. Love without loving works is dead. It is not real love. If you love someone, it will manifest itself in those behaviors and those actions. You do that by doing what is best for the other person, even when it costs you something, not grumbling about it like a burden, not complaining that you have to do something for them, doing it because it is best for them and you are glad to play a part in doing what is best for them. That is love. That's when I think of my children. When I think of my children, the amount of time and effort that goes into children when you work multiple jobs, when you're tired, when you're sick, when the days aren't great, when it's rainy outside and you just want to go curl up in your own room away from people and they need you. Do you love your children if you lock them out and tell them, I don't care about you, go away? Or do you love them when you gather them in and say, I'm not feeling great today, but I will give you what I have. Let's share this moment and work together as a family to have a good day.
I love
That's
it.
the second.
I
That's
love it.
love.
I absolutely love it, and I think it's love's romanticized, ironically, in Hollywood. Like we think love should be ripping your clothes off with your partner every single instance, or greeting your kid every time you see them with a massive
Right.
hug.
Right.
I think we should move away from the archetypes and the stereotypes of love that we see on Disney and other Hollywood films. Yeah, I really, really like how you brought that to life, Adam. I love it.
Love is not, it is not always passionate. Sometimes love is very calm. Sometimes love is almost is sad. Sometimes love is, tired. Sometimes love is patient, right? We have a list of what love is. Love is kind, love is patient. Someone smart said that once. It's love is many things, and passionate love and passionate moments can and should be part of love at times when appropriate, but love can be as simple as me working 3 jobs and getting off of work at the end of my day when I've worked 12 or 14 hours and sitting with my son and listening to him list his favorite Godzilla moments from his favorite Godzilla movie and playing with him with his toys and reenacting those moments with him for 10, 15 minutes before dinner. That can be love. And that's not wild, unrestrained passion. It is not me just, oh, I am so thrilled. And it's not even him being, oh, so overwhelmingly swept off his feet. It is moments of giving him what I have for his betterment and for his health. That can be love too. And marriage, same thing.
The only reason I know how to give love to someone else is because I would say my mom, God bless her, gave me the definition of love. No matter how late I was out working till, whether it was 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. or 10 p.m., she would relentlessly wait until I'm home to have dinner with me. Even if it meant that she had to go hungry, she would do that so she could spend that quality time for me with me. And she wouldn't probably describe those 5 hours of not eating as love and fun and enjoyable. It was a sacrifice to demonstrate her love to me. And now I try and make those same sacrifices to please the needs of other people. And that's how I would kind of perpetuate the definition of love that she taught me onto the future relationships that I might have.
Absolutely. I will also say this as a caveat: love does not always require sacrifice. Love is determined by the betterment of the person you acted upon and your intention of giving them something good for them. It can be as simple as me making my son a sandwich, which takes 30 seconds to make a sandwich real quick. But for him, that's a lot because it's his favorite sandwich. It's his enjoyment. If she waited 5 minutes to have dinner with you, or if she waited 5 hours to have dinner with you, both are love. Both are love.
I
That's
love it.
wonderful, though. That's wonderful. Give her a
Let's.
hug for me.
This next one might be. It might shake the branches of some people. Fellas, if you're obsessed with appearing dominant and alpha, You're not dominant and alpha. You'll just become domineering while looking fragile and weak. And nobody likes an unstable tyrant.
That's right. 100%. So guys who are obsessed with how they look usually have attachment problems. When you're obsessed with how you look, you're obsessed with your appearance, you are afraid someone else is going to hurt you, or you're afraid somebody else is going to realize that you are not big and strong. It's one or the other. They're either going to realize you're a fraud or they're going to come in and try to hurt you. Those are the two real views that those men typically have.
And
It is not,
I
yeah.
kind of had this realization when I was purchasing my first car. I was going to buy quite a flashy car that was probably out with my budget, but it's because I was looking at that car in a way of how are other people going to see me, not how am I going to see myself. And once I
Yes.
realized that, I detached the notion of buying an expensive car, and I can totally see why guys try and portray themselves as an alpha or a dominant figure. I can see it.
Yes. Everyone wants to be the biggest, top meanest gorilla. Everybody wants to be the strongest gorilla in the cage. Um, it just doesn't work that way. The guys who are confident in themselves are not obsessed with whether people think they are confident or not. That's what it is. If you are faking that confidence, you are not confident. If you are trying to be a gorilla, you are not a gorilla. You are probably a rhesus monkey. If you are trying to be a lion, you are probably a house cat. Lions don't have to try to be lions. Lions are lions and they act like it. And if you said, hey, you're a lion, they'd probably stop and go, oh, I guess I am. Because they don't spend all their time thinking about how they're a lion.
I love that. That was magical. I love that. So let's move on to male depression.
Mm,
Male depression is nearly always a result of learned helplessness, but health providers treat it like female depression.
mhm.
What is the difference between male and female depression, and how should they be resolved differently?
Good question. So, painting in broad general strokes, through my work as a licensed psychotherapist, what I found was the majority of men who are depressed, their problems are only resolved when they regain a mission in life and the ability to achieve that mission. Those are the two things that men need to be able to stave off depression. If they have those two pieces in place, a mission that they can accomplish and the ability to accomplish that mission, they can crawl through broken glass with a smile on their face, right? It's the action hero thing. If he can achieve his mission, he will go to his death smiling because he has achieved his mission. That's all that matters. That is most men. And typically attachment plays into that because men get stuck, we get lonely, we get stuck, we get afraid. Our mission is to have a wife and 5 kids, and we can never find a wife to have kids with, and so we feel like our mission has failed, or our marriage is going in the toilet. We feel like we're ruining our marriage, ruining our mission. Everything goes to our mission, or we don't have a mission. We're stuck on our mission, or we don't have one, and that all really boils down to relationships. It boils down to the human impact that you have in people's lives. I know you were telling me before the show about your human impact that you've had with your work and all the things that you're doing, and that's phenomenal. That is a huge mission and a tremendous good mission that will keep you strong. A lot of men don't have that. A lot of men don't have that mission, or they're afraid they can't reach it. Male depression tends to be mission focused, and which is often guided by attachment and relationships. Female depression tends to be guided by feeling unloved or feeling useless to the people that they love. That's what female depression tends to come from,
Uh-huh.
which is also relationship focused and attachment focused. If you have attachment issues, you don't believe anyone will ever love you because you're worthless. And if you have attachment issues, all you care about is what you can do for other people to earn approval. So you endlessly burn yourself out trying to give other people approval, but you feel useless at the same time. So you never feel useful, you never feel loved. Male depression, mission based on what I can do. Female depression, typically love based on feeling loved and what I can do for others. That's the key difference right there, male and female depression. So we come in and we try to make men feel loved. We try to make men feel useful. We try to make men have, oh, it's okay, people care about you. and they say, "What do I care about that? It's okay. They care about me, so I'm a sad little cat in a cage." Like that's not what I want to be. I want to be the strong gorilla who's achieving my mission. I want to be Bruce Willis in Die Hard at the end, taking out the terrorists. I want to be Sean Connery in James Bond, going and doing these things. Men want to feel powerful enough to achieve their mission, to achieve their goal. And they want a mission that matters to them, which usually comes down to relationships. So finding the people in their life who can give them the missing pieces and the guidance and the data to find the solutions that they need so they can act upon those and gain power and gain control and achieve their mission. That is how you treat male depression, which is why we usually start with lifting weights, doing push-ups, fixing his body, because it shows him he has control over his body. In a short amount of time, 3 to 4 weeks, you have accomplished some overhaul of your body. You are strong, and that tells you, wait a minute, maybe I can overcome these obstacles over here. I just need someone who can teach me how to do it. That usually cuts off male depression pretty quick. Pretty
Uh,
quick.
I've seen this as a live example. I've spoken on air before about how my dad suffers PTSD and depression based on his time in the army. He was in the Falklands War in the 80s, and I've seen the motions of depression in a 60-year-old man. And there was one poignant episode where I seen him remove this identity or this tag almost, and it was essentially for a remembrance day for World War II, and he was
Mhm.
asked to lay a wreath of flowers or lay a wreath of poppies and march up this huge street and back wearing his army uniform that he wore years before and walk with
Mhm.
his fellow comrades. And my dad suffers immensely from arthritis in his hips. He's not very mobile. He can walk maybe 20 yards, 30, 40 yards. But that day, when he was told that he had the responsibility to lay that wreath and to go back essentially into the persona of the last time he had that
Yes.
sense of comradeship and
Yes.
community and brotherhood, I seen him morph into a different man. He walked for
Yes.
miles. He marched without a smile. He was focused. He was purposeful. It was beautiful to watch. But I seen him completely change from victim, and not to label depression as
No, no, no. I hear you.
a victim a victim focused mental
Mhm.
health condition. But I seen him switch from a victim to a victor in terms of his own mental persona, and it was so beautiful
Yes.
to see. And I think that really brings to life, and then it kind of post rationalizes now for me how I could go off and help resolve my dad's depression, or at least get someone to help him at least.
And that is not the first time I've heard that. If you look into the London air raids, you will find information about men who were catatonic or nearly catatonic in mental health hospitals. They would get out, and when the war started, they would be driving the ambulances, picking up like the wounded. They would have a mission. They'd say, "All right, you," and he'd like get up from his catatonic state and volunteer and go drive ambulances to pick up the wounded. They'd be doing these tasks. All of a sudden, these men had a purpose, an immediate purpose. War gives men an immediate purpose, a mission over and over and over to go achieve it. And then men, we have more vasopressin receptors than oxytocin receptors, so we bond deeply with our comrades during those times as we're accomplishing goals together. Even if we don't like them very much as people, we bond with them because we're surviving together and achieving missions together. That's why those men, those comrades he has those connections with, he has no connection on earth quite like with them, because his brain has vasopressin bonded with them so hard during those war times, they will never unbond ever, because his brain has cemented that they are his allies and they can accomplish the most together. That's why you see those bonds happen. And that all together is why he was able to get up and do that.
What
That's the power of mental health. That's the power of strength and bonds and emotion and attachment. That's what it is right there.
What a stark, beautiful, and personal way to wrap up the tweet storm, Adam. Thank you for that. That was absolutely wonderful. I want to move on to towards the end of the podcast and bring to life some of the questions my followers or listeners had for you. They were so ecstatic that you were coming on. It seems like loads of people suffer from attachment issues or are more interested to learn more. So here's some of them. Do attachment styles waver between male and female?
Good question. I have not myself anecdotally seen much of a difference, except I do seem to notice more avoidant attachment styles in men, just because I'm not sure if that's because they are more gruff, more angry, more prone to violence sometimes in childhood, or more resistant to other people. I'm not sure what it is. Avoidant is the one thing I do tend to see more of in men, but when it comes to anxious, I tend to see mostly anxious actually in both.
Amazing, amazing insight. I really like this question. We seem to mistake unpredictability and non-committal as passionate and exciting, and we mistake safety and calmness as boring. Why does this occur, and how do we fix it?
So this tends to come in with people who have attachment issues. Safety, calm, all of those things tend to be scary because it's when you will be exposed to the other person for being a fraud. There are some times where women do say, hey, I'm bored and we're in a rut. What can we do? And that's usually them saying, I am secure enough with you that I want to stress bond, which is vasopressin bonding. Women are very typically stress and risk averse, but when they're secure, they want to bond through that. It's sharing relationship experiences and it's having a little bit of stress, so they vasopressin bond. I think because women know instinctively that men vasopressin bond better than we oxytocin bond, so they're building us and building those opportunities to stress bond with us. But safe and boring and predictable, those are not bad things for healthy attachment. Those are bad things for unhealthy attachment because it's unfamiliar, it's scary, you're going to expose, you've never seen it before, and you don't know how to connect with it. So it's much better to have the person who's not committed, who's just wild and having fun, because then they'll never expect anything from us. And we can chase them endlessly to try to earn their approval without ever exposing who we really are deep down.
People would rather endure familiar pain than unfamiliar pain, and by exposing yourself, you're doing the latter, I would presume.
It's exposing yourself when you're a child. Exposing that says, I'm going to be abandoned. And when you're a child, being abandoned means death. So it welds abandonment and death and rejection and death together, which activates your limbic system as an adult whenever you perceive the risk of being rejected or abandoned. So exposing yourself activates the limbic system, the fight or flight system, and says, I could die if I'm exposed. I will do anything to make sure I'm not exposed. That's what's
Wow,
happening there.
that's so stark. Are daddy issues a real thing?
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh, yes. Daddy issues are very much real. A lot of our self worth in relationships is determined by our relationship with our opposite sex parent. Very much so. We talked earlier about men trying to earn good boy points from their mom. Very much the same. Very much the same here with girls. Of I want to get the approval I never got from my father. Very much similar. Yeah, daddy issues are very real. So are mommy issues.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible insight. Should a relationship be easy?
Yeah. Hmm. A relationship will only be on easy mode when you have done the hard work of having the honest conversations, of doing, like we discussed earlier, the good partner, bad partner, of being the good partner, of saying what you want, correcting when it's something you don't want, helping the other person find the right behavior that you do want, and praising the behaviors that you want to see repeated. That is work, and it's hard work. And it's hard work setting the ego aside and having those conversations if the other person accidentally hurts you. It is work, but it makes it easy and it puts the relationship on easy mode when you do that work up front. If it's hard, it's usually because one of you has an attachment issue. When both are healthy, they will do those and have learned those good behaviors, they will do those good behaviors and it won't be that hard. It's just a lot of work. So, not hard work, but if it's hard, work on attachment. Attachment can make it much easier. Everything's harder with attachment problems.
There we have it. There we have it, Adam. If the people of Scotland and much further afield want to reach out and enjoy your work or message you for coaching or any sessions or to be just part of the journey that you're on, how can they find you and where can they find you? And I'm presuming that you welcome that they get in touch. So where can they find you, my friend?
I am Adam Lane Smith. You have to put Lane in there because Adam Smith is a famous Scottish economist. So I've learned that I have to be Adam Lane Smith, Lane. So adamlanesmith.com is my website. I'm there. I'm overhauling it because it's terrible right now, but you'll find me on there and all my works and all my things I do. I am on just about on every platform. If you look for Adam Lane Smith, look on YouTube, Adam Lane Smith. I've got something like 80 free video guides about what is attachment, why is it a problem, how do you fix it, what are all the different manifestations and relationships. My YouTube channel is probably one of the best resources for just about anybody with attachment concerns. Adam Lane Smith on YouTube. Those are the two best places to find me right now.
Adam, this was such a personal episode. One of my favorites of all time. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for your time. See you
Thank
soon.
you for having me.